You doing?
I am well, thank you very much for asking.
Yes. I like the energy this morning, your engagement with your fans and your agenda.
Just say, agenda.
Agenda woman. Yeah,
we are an agenda woman.
Agenda
Wow.
It is what it is.
Are you
lot
cool?
of people want to call to give you their own verdict, It's very interesting, though. This is a typical Friday story, but it has come also at the right time. Today is Wednesday.
Midweek.
Those days when you are in school, Wednesdays are for worship, isn't it? Or singing. Is it worship or singing? I think
worship.
it's
It's for worship. That's true.
I know, right?
Wednesdays are for worship.
Wednesdays are for worship. Do this too? These things are they happening?
What?
Worship and
it happens.
Oh, okay.
It happens. It happens.
It's been a long.
It happens.
Time. Yeah,
it's still happening. Let's talk about the courts, Charlie.
Yes,
the Kaswa ritual murder is first on our list.
Yes. So, all things about the Kaswa ritual murder case has been put to rest. And for those who remember or who want to, just to remind our listeners about this very case, sometime in April 2021, two two teenagers were arrested in Kaswa when the news broke that a young boy, 10-year-old Ishmael Mensah Abdallah, was killed, and the investigation led to the arrest of these two teenagers, one a 15-year-old at the time, the other is an 18-year-old. So when they were arrested, went to the district courts. Committals were held after the Attorney General was agreed, or investigation shows that they killed the young boy. The matter went to the High Court. There were a lot of controversies as to whether the age involved, whether they should be tried by a jury or should not be tried by the jury, whether it should be tried at the High Court and all that. So it went on. There was a jury trial, and then just last year, in October last year, the whole trial by way of evidence came to an end, and then the jury, a 7-member jury panel, returned their verdict, and the verdict was to the effect that the 15-year-old juvenile and the 18-year-old young offender have been found guilty for their role for murder and conspiracy. And because of the ages involved, the disparities of the ages, the 18-year-old young offender at the time that the jury was returning the verdict, he was 21 years. It was 3 years since the incident happened, and then he was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. Then the 15-year-old at the time that he was being sentenced last year, was then 18 years, but at the time that the incident happened, he was 15 years, so he was treated as a juvenile. He was remitted to the juvenile court for sentences, and yesterday was the day that the juvenile court was satisfied with all circumstances surrounding the case, and also after the court had ordered for a social inquiry report on him, and everything was brought to the court, and the sentencing was passed. And a very interesting sentence indeed. Yesterday, before Her Worship Mrs. Bernice Mensah Akun, the magistrate, he was handed a 12-month sentence at the Senior Correctional Center, and in fact we are told that he will be 19 this year. So a lot of questions will be asked: how can a 19-year-old boy be in the Senior Correctional Center? Because that place is for persons who are below, but the law is saying that at the time that the incident happened, he was a minor and he will be treated as such. There were a lot of emotions. If you come to the court yesterday, you cannot stand it. Especially he himself had to break down in tears, apologize to the family of the disease he described as for killing my friend. It was the devil that used me. It was not his intention to do that. And of course, the family of the disease, the disease family, they were also in pain. You could see from the faces of the family members, and their the issue that they had is not relation to the number of sentences that was given to them, but the law that prescribed that sentence. And the court made it clear that between April 2021 and yesterday, when the sentencing was being passed, the accused, the convicts, had technically served his punishment. You know that the maximum punishment for a minor is 3 years. So if the court was supposed to give him a 3 years, and per the law, a minor is supposed to be tried within 6 month period, but the whole thing dragged. And yesterday, being over 3 years, the court said technically the convict had already served his sentence in police custody. But the court looked at the gravity of the offense and said that he should go in for the next 12 months so that he would be looked at. And also that's what happened, even though the family of Ishmael Mensah Abdallah we will engage them during midday news for more on. Did they want maybe the law amended to prefer a very harsher punishment for situations like that? So the Kaswa ritual murder case involving a 15-year-old juvenile who is now about to be 19, and then 18-year-old young offender who is also about to be 22. That case has come to a close.
Okay.
And justice has been served to the family of the deceased, even though they were not happy with the length of punishment, especially for a 15-year-old.
Okay. Okay. And there's another, story related to murder and stuff like that. Abisim, let's talk about that before we come to Kukubo.
Yes, so the Abisim murder case, Richard Appiah, once upon a time asking the court to grant him the opportunity to train and be called onto the national team to play for any of their national team. But of course, yesterday I did indicate that the case will be before Justice Ruby Aite, Criminal Court 1, where prosecution was expected to produce their very first witness for the trial to begin. Yesterday, the case was called, the jurors were present, the court was ready, prosecution team were also ready. But unfortunately, there were some miscommunications about the time frame, the time factor within which the accused persons was supposed to have been brought. So the case yesterday didn't come on. The adjourned, moment after the case was adjourned, then the police officer or prison officers produced the accused person. But of course, that led to the case not able, or the trial not able to start as has been earlier indicated. So that case in the coming days or this month, it will come up again at the High Court. So that's what happened in relation to the Kaswa ritual murder. And another case also that came up, and the day before yesterday and yesterday, one case is happening, Cocoa board. And we just seen the new
Soldier go, soldier
CEO.
come.
Soldier go, soldier come.
Soldier go, police come. Sorry.
So how do you explain that? Soldier go. Which one is the
So
soldier?
when we're little, when you have a seat,
Yes.
and you were sitting on it.
Well,
When you leave and somebody comes to sit,
Yeah.
and you come and you say, tell the
That's
person,
my
soldier
seat.
go, police come.
And when you vacate your seat, though, you can't come back and say it's my seat. So, Dr. Stephen Kobnopuni said we are going to go in the Agri-Court Ghana Limited, the cocoa board matter is still before the court. Yesterday, the ninth defense witness for Saidu Agongo was expected or was in court yesterday for further cross-examination by lawyers of Dr. Stephen Kobnopuni. But when the case was called before Justice Abuaje Tando, a justice of the Court of Appeal who is sitting with additional responsibility as a High Court judge, the witness Samuel Akoto Bamford was present in court yesterday, and in fact, he is a principal research scientist with the School of Nuclear and Allied Sciences at Atomic Energy Ghana. And now, when the cross-examination was about to continue from the side of Dr. Stephen Kobnopuni's lawyers, led by Samuel Kujo, he indicated to the court that he is unwell. But the court said, once we have come, let's just do something very brief and then adjourn the case and come back. And guess what? The very first question that he asked the witness was to the effect that he should tell the court whether he's on retirement, and he indicated that yes, he's on retirement. Another question that he asked the witness was to the effect that when was the last time that he took up a course in physics, and the witness responded that he's an active. He is in when he was in active service. He said in active service, he's a lecturer. He has been lecturing. He teaches courses, but he doesn't take courses. It means that he's not taking courses. He rather lecture. And then he was also asked about a question: since when has he been lecturing? And he said he's been lecturing since 1978. Where were you? 1978. That was when he started lecturing. So that's so many, over 30 years, 30, almost 40, right? Yes, 40 plus years ago. So the interesting question that was asked yesterday by lawyer Samuel Kujo was the fact that, look, as a scientist, the report that prosecution is using to prosecute the accused person, by the report that you did, how would you grade it on a scale of 1 to 10 and get his answer. He said, look, the report that he had from Corte Papafield's report is concerned. As a scientist, he will say that the report is unreliable. And to grade it, he will grade it 1 out of 10. You heard it. He will grade it 1 out of 10. That is the report, the results from the lab that the prosecution is relying to prosecute the accused. 1 out of 10. So if you are reading
the result that the prosecution is relying on
to say that little bit liquid fertilizer is worthless, it's not effective, that result that brought the outcome which led to prosecution making case against Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni and Seydou Agongo. He, as a scientist who has reviewed that particular report, he said that if he is grading it, he will give it 1 out of 10, meaning 10 out of 100. That is his rating of that. And so the last question to him before the case was adjourned to next week, Tuesday, was to the effect that, so per your own conclusion, it means that that particular report was not even fit, was wrong. It's not even fit to be on the paper that they put on. He said, yes, he agrees that the report ought not to, because it's so unreliable and all of that. So Dr. Akoto Banfo will come back on next week, Tuesday, for further cross-examination. And by the time that he'll be back in court, we have a substantive attorney general in this particular NDC's administration. So that is one of the cases that also took place. And Dr. Stephen Kwabena Opuni, Seydou Agongo, both of them were present in court yesterday. So those are the cases that came up yesterday in court. And of course, yesterday, the attorney general designate has been approved by Parliament. And then so now we are waiting for his swearing in, and I guess that will happen today.
Yep, it's at 2 p.m.
At 2 p.m. today. So Dominic Ayeni is expected to take over from Godfred Yeboah-Dami today, when he is sworn in by the president together with the other ministers who were approved. So the case that we will be following today is in relation to JB Dankwa Edu's murder case. Sexy Don Don, Gucci Young Starr, is back in court today after the court has ordered for his retrial. You note that the jury returned a 4-3 verdict in his favor, and by that decision means that there's a hung jury. There's no decision. The case ended inconclusively, and so they have to start all over again. He's still in lawful custody, but his lawyers say that he is innocent until proven guilty. So as anybody, he should be granted bail. So before the High Court today, the lawyers are expected to move that particular bail application. Prosecution will respond to it, and the court will make a decision.
All right. Thank you very much. Mutala Inusa, our legal affairs correspondent, giving us all the ones and twos with regard to what has been happening at the courts and what is expected to happen today as well. It's the Morning Star here on Star 103.5 FM. Let's lighten the mood a little bit.